Oh, if this bill does pass the House, it goes back to the Senate, of course, and now we're going to talk to two key Senate leaders, Democrat Richard Durbin, the #2 Democrat in the Democratic leadership in the Senate. He's in Springfield this morning, but we begin with the Senate's top Republican, Mitch McConnell. Well,
good morning.
Good morning to you, Senator. Thank you for coming. It looks like you have your work cut out for you. The Democratic vote counters there just said they believe they're going to have the votes to pass this in the House, so that means this bill and the corrections that the House is going to make go to the Senate. What happens then?
Well, they'll have a tough sell first in the House. They'll have to get their members to vote for the Senate bill, which has the Nebraska deal, the Louisiana deal, the Florida deal, and then they'll have to get them to vote for a second bill, which has even bigger Medicare cuts than the first bill, even more tax increases than the first bill, and its own set of special deals. For example, the Rocky Top vote swap, the deal made to get the vote of a congressman from Tennessee who voted against the bill the first time and is apparently going to vote for it this time. Special deal for a hospital in his district. So the second measure that will come back to the Senate is not exactly free of special deals, and that is the proposal, if the House can pass both these measures, that the Senate will take up next week.
So what will be your tactic? What will be your strategy? Will you just offer a series of amendments to try to just drag this out? What will Republicans do?
Well, it's not a question of dragging it out. It's a question of making sure the American people know what's in it. We'll have all kinds of amendments on the substance, and then, of course, there are special rules that apply to one of these so-called reconciliation bills that will be tested in the Senate. There will be various rulings by the parliamentarian as to whether things meet the so-called Byrd rule, and those will be tested in votes as well.
And the Byrd rule, of course, is that it must be germane to reducing the deficit in order to be considered under this reconciliation plan, which we should underline. The reason that Democrats are trying to do it that way is they can pass this with a simple majority of 51.
That's correct. And it's been used before by both sides. Interestingly enough, though, the only time it's been narrowly partisan when it was used, each party lost the Senate the next year. In '93, we had a narrowly partisan use of reconciliation for the biggest tax increase in history at that time. And the next year, my party took the House and Senate. In 2005, we used it for a deficit reduction package. It was narrowly passed on a partisan basis, and we lost the Senate the next year. Most of the time we've used this device in the past, the measure has passed by a large bipartisan majority.
So just walk us through this. Mm-hmm. Well, what happens when it gets to the Senate? Will you what's the first thing you will do?
Well, I'm not going to announce it today, but we will have a series of amendments on the substance of the bill that will highlight the massive Medicare cuts, the massive tax increases, and other deficiencies that we think are the reason the American people are against this bill. I mean, what's going on here, Bob, is that the Democrats in the House and Senate are trying to convince their members to basically ignore their own constituents and do something that's highly unpopular, even though the public opinion is pretty darn clear that Americans don't want this.
Do you think at this point you can stop this bill from passing?
Well, I'm not going to make a prediction as to what may happen, but it could end up going back to the House of Representatives for a second vote. They may not be through with it after today. They may get it back if it doesn't succeed in the Senate.
We hear that, that President Obama's put it all on the line for this. He's put his whole presidency on the line to get this passed. It's his signature thing. But aren't Republicans, in a way, putting it all on the line by being totally opposed to this?
Well, look, Bob, this is not about the president, and it's not about the Republicans. It's about the nation's health care. And we have a significant difference of opinion about the direction in which to go. And interestingly enough, the American people agree with us that this bill ought to be put on the shelf and that we ought to start over and go step by step to fix the problems of cost, which is the big problem in the U.S. healthcare system.
So you today, and this will be my final question to you, you are making no predictions on whether you can stop this bill or not. Obviously, you're going to try, but you can't say at this point that you think you can stop it.
Well, we know the American people want us to, and we owe it to the American people to do the very best we can to keep this bill from passing so that we can start over and get it right.
All right. Mitch McConnell, thank you for being with us this morning. And now we want to talk to Dick Durbin.